Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Monday. It is Monday. I'm here with a new subject. I know my hair looked so great yesterday, and of course today when I needed to look, presentable, it decides, oh no, we're going to just give you the fits. I did something this weekend, I know, and I don't recommend it, but sometimes my brain gets in the way and I get a hair up my butt, and so I just put my hair in a bunch of ponytail holders and just cut. So, like I said, I don't recommend it. I got lucky. I did, because I actually like it. I'm still trying to figure it out, but for the most part, I have curls to cover it. So like I said, I don't recommend it. But anyways, let a professional do it. However, good morning. I'm here to talk about a subject that I think some people might find a little embarrassing. Some people will probably say, oh yeah, those all kind of fit me, but that's not me. There's no shame in this, all right? There's absolutely no shame in this. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I am what I call a recovering people pleaser. And by recovering people pleaser, I mean exactly this. I tend to people please a lot, and I am trying to break that habit. I'm trying to get out of, doing all these different things that, don't, and just kind of falling short on energy and everything. And so, if if any of these symptoms match you, I'm gonna talk today. I did some research on it. I'm gonna talk today about, what some of the symptoms might be, how the dictionary actually defines people pleasing, and some of the steps that came from, a large group of articles. Like when you look something up, it's going to summarize everything from you, from like WebMD's Psychology Today, all these different things that are ways that you can kind of combat people pleasing. So I am not pointing the finger in any direction. I tend to think that a lot more of us do it than we realize. And like I said, it's not anything to be ashamed of, but it is something that we should try to fix, because we also don't want people taking advantage of us. And when people take advantage of us, that becomes a problem, right? Sorry. My hair is just like, Shelly Marie, we're going to be in your way today. So, let's get to it. All right. Let's see. People pleasing, from what I've seen online, kind of falls under, it does fall under a mental health, And sorry, I'm scrolling so I can read to you the different, signs of being a people pleaser. So this one comes from Very Well Mind, and, it talks about how people pleasing, Well, you know what? Let's just get into it. I made notes because, like I said, if you've been following for the last couple of weeks, you're going to know that my brain has a lot of squirrels up here in the attic, and they're running around like crazy, nonstop. And so lately I've been doing a lot of notes. I mean, I usually do notes when I do something like this anyways, because I don't want to just fly off the cuff. I am not a trained therapist, trained mental health person. I'm just a person who literally, goes day in and day out with, with mental health issues. I have a dinged up mental health. Simple as that. See, the squirrels are they're like, oh, it's Monday, Shelly Marie, let's do this. Well, I opted for some jasmine green tea today. That is delightful. So anyways, good morning, older sibling. All right. People pleasing. I put people pleasing syndrome, but I don't think it's a syndrome. But anyways, the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines people pleasing as a person who has an emotional need to please others, often at the expense of his or her own or their own feelings or desires. So again, a person who has an emotional need to please others, often at the expense of their own emotional desires or feelings. It's, not wanting to make a decision. It could be as simple as, what do you want to watch? I don't care. What do you want to watch? And two people who are people pleasers, you're not going to get very far, and you're going to you're going to waste more time trying to figure out what to watch than you are watching the actual program. But the hard thing too is that, I've mentioned before that sibling and I are roommates, older sibling and I. And we're both people pleasers, and it makes it really, really hard sometimes to make a decision in this house because nobody wants to get it wrong, right? And I think a lot of times we don't want to get it wrong because we just want the other person to be happy, but at what expense? It's like, and so are we doing the right thing? Are we, I don't know. This is hard to explain, and this is really hard for me too, because like I said, I am a recovering people pleaser, and I was reading over a lot of this stuff, and it's like, oh my God, it's like, it has been that bad. It has been to the point where it's like, where you do try to break a cycle and not be a people pleaser, that you feel like you're letting everybody down. So I am going to read from Very Well Mind, some of the behaviors that it says, oh my God, my brain, it just will not work. There are a number of characteristics that people pleasers tend to share. Some different people pleasing behaviors include. We're going to get to that in a second. Okay. So, are you one? Do you find yourself putting your needs ahead of somebody else's needs? Now, I know that when we say, well, people who put their needs in front of everybody else, that's a narcissist. Not necessarily. Okay, if they're doing it and they're not giving anything back, that's a whole different egg. Okay, so, a lot of times people might say, oh, well, someone called me a narcissist because I did this. Somebody called me a narcissist because I post a lot on social media, and sometimes I post selfies on my Facebook. Well, the thing is a lot of these selfies that I put on Instagram or Facebook, they don't see the light of day anywhere else. But Facebook and Instagram is where most of my people are. And it's just a lot of times too, it's because I'm feeling good that day. And then I read something the other day, I'm reading a self-help book right now that says, you know what, post this stuff. If you're having a great day, feel good about it. Show the world that, you know what, even though, you're, that you have good days and bad days. But, I don't just post the good stuff. I post the bad stuff too. And I post the bad stuff because, I do want to, advocate for mental health. And one of the only ways we can do that is to show people, look, my life's not perfect. Nobody's life is perfect. We are all, in my personal opinion, perfectly imperfect. But so many of us try so hard to people please that people might mistake it as, oh, well, she's trying to be a good two shoes. He's trying to do this. She's trying to do that. They're trying to do this. And that's not the case at all. It really comes from, not valuing themselves, having this low here's my first note. Having low self-worth and drawing self-esteem from others, accommodating everyone else's needs while undermining their own, going with the flow dictated by others, so not going with the flow at all, but going with somebody else's flow, being too agreeable or rarely saying no, feeling guilty or fearful when saying no or turning people down, and agreeing to things they don't like or don't want to do just because they don't want to let everyone down. Now, sometimes you're going to be in a group, okay? And if you have agreed that this is a group outing and people take a vote, that's different, in my personal opinion. Maybe not in the clinical version, I have no idea. But in my personal opinion, that's a little bit different because, you're agreeing that, something you're going to do today may not be to your liking, but there may have been other times when some people have gone out, you and all your friends, and you agreed on something you and a couple other people liked and somebody else may not have liked. But so when that happens, give it a shot. Open your mind to it. There's been a lot of times when I did do this from a people pleasing standpoint, but I ended up enjoying myself and I discovered a lot of different things. So there can be, I would say that's the smallest, tiniest possibility of a good thing coming out of this, because being a people pleaser, not a lot of good comes out of this, because the root of it is low self-worth, drawing self-esteem from other people. It's basically what I've talked about in the past couple of weeks, I know, I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened. I hit play, and all of a sudden, it's like an alarm for all the squirrels in the attic, all the squirrels in my tree up here. So, they're just like, yeah, let's do this. So, please bear with me. And like I said, I think too, a lot of this is because, I am a recovering people pleaser. And when I talk about stuff that I've never talked about on this show before, I get a little nervous because I don't want to overstep, but I also don't want to understep. And I don't want to, scare people away by saying certain things. And I don't want people to, and see, here it is again. I'm people pleasing. I don't want people to be upset with something that I might say because they may not agree with it. I'm reading you their notes, but I'm also agreeing 1,000% with them. So, when I say I'm a recovering people pleaser, a lot of it does have to do with mental health. And so, many of us, whether you have a dinged up mental health or not, struggle with low self-esteem and low self-value and low self-worth. And we can combat that with a lot of self-love and a lot of self-care. If somebody wants to sit there and, call you something bad or call you names because you're taking care of yourself and, after a week putting everybody first, you decide to take a day for yourself, just remind them there are 3 fingers pointing back at them. All right. That is my most favorite thing that older sibling ever taught me. When you point a finger, be careful when you point that finger because there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. And what are they pointing at? Are they pointing at someone making a point? Or are they pointing back at you saying, hey, you need to fix your own shit before you start putting mirrors up to people's faces? So that being said, I'm going to read you the characteristics that people pleasers tend to share from verywellmind.com. You have a difficult time saying no. So to me, saying I don't care, what do you want to do, is the same thing as saying no. You either want to do it or you don't want to do it. Sometimes you may have to compromise with other people, and that's fine. Compromise is a great thing. Like I said, you never know. You might enjoy something that you're dead set on not wanting to do. And when it comes to, I have to say this. There have been some movies that I have not wanted to see. Right. And this happens a lot because I just get it so in my mind that it's like, nope. And then older sibling wants to see it. So I figure, hey, you know what? She's having a good day. The chronic pain is a little bit low. She wants to go to the movies. Let's go see this. And I end up enjoying, I cannot tell you how many times this has happened. I end up enjoying the movie more than she does. She's like, it was okay. And I'm like, oh my God, there were so many great messages in that movie, or wow, this was great, or whoa, this is way better. But I also go into every single movie I see, believe it or not, no matter how much of a nerd or geek I can be. I actually go into every single movie I see with 0 expectations. There are 2 movies in this world that I bought into the hype. One of them was Forrest Gump. The other one was the Blair Witch Project. And both of them I watched again because when I left the theater, I absolutely hated it. I did not like Forrest Gump. Everyone's like, how'd you not like it? It's like, because I let the hype get in my head, right? I thought there was going to be this extraordinary film. And I watched it again. And when I watched it from a different perspective this time of just, it was on. It's like, yeah, I'll give it another whirl. I loved it. And it is one of my favorite movies. Now, Blair Witch Project, tried it again, still don't like it. I still don't get the hype. But, and that's me, because there's a lot of people out there going, oh my God, they're going to see it and go, Shelly Marie, how do you not like it? My cousins asked me the same thing. How do you not like it? And before I'd be like, oh, well, maybe I just didn't understand it. Maybe I didn't do this. Maybe I didn't do that. But now when people ask me, and I just come out and say it, they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it just wasn't my thing. It's like, I'm sorry. I mean, maybe it's your thing, but it's not my thing. And to me, that's growth. That's growth. When people ask me for the first time, when I say the first time I saw Forrest Gump in the theaters, and I saw it way after everybody, and, they weren't even previewing, or they weren't even doing trailers for it anymore. And it's like, oh, well, you didn't like it the first time? It's like, no, I bought into the hype. So, and even my uncle asked me that, because he's all, even your big superhero movies, you go in with 0 expectations. I said, yeah, I go into everything. No matter how hyped up and excited I get about something, I'm not expected to be I'm not feeling like I'm going to be blown out of my seat. And to me, because I go in with 0 expectations for something, and I'm not talking about life, I'm just talking about movies here, okay? That I feel like I open myself up more to the whole picture. Like there's a movie I saw Madam Web last week. It is getting panned across the board. Okay. Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. And I mean, it is getting, oh no, it was the week before. I'm sorry, the week before I saw it. So a week and a half ago. And it is getting blown out of the water by critics, but I loved it. I loved it. I got the message. I got the idea. I got the idea behind, we can be whatever we want to be kind of thing. And, when we have gifts, why do we always, kind of poo-poo them because other people think we're stupid or crazy? Who cares what other people think? If you know you have a gift and you have a gift, you don't have to parade it around to the world. And if you tell people that that you feel close to, that you hope will accept it and they don't worry about them. This is your thing. Don't people please them. Do not put your value in their hands. Okay, so the next one. Oh, sorry. I kind of strayed there. See, this is what happens with this brain right now. I totally went in another direction. So thank goodness for notes. So the first one, let's circle back. You have a difficult time saying no. If you're tired and someone says, hey, I've got to go pick up this thing from IKEA. Will you help me? Just say, you know what, I'd really like to, but I'm tired. I haven't gotten any sleep. I haven't done this and that, because this could be one of those friends that you love hanging out with. And then the next thing you know, you've moved it, then you're helping them put it together. You're moving it into their house. You're helping them put it together. Then you're probably hanging out and you're tired. All you're going to do is put yourself behind the wheel and just say, look, does it have to be picked up today? Because maybe I'll be more rested tomorrow, or can you find someone else to help you? And if they give you some guff on it, just tell them, look, I'm sorry, but you know what? I'm really tired today and I'm not going to be very useful. So you have to make that choice. And, good friends might get upset for a second. I know sometimes it happens because they're depending on you. But don't let them guilt you, and don't let them use passive aggressive behavior on you to guilt you into doing something, okay? Because I'm sure that at some point you've needed this person and they've just flat out said, nope, sorry, I just can't today. So don't feel bad about your no's. You're preoccupied with what other people might think. That's a big one. That's a big one. And that kind of goes with number one. You're so worried that they're going to be mad at you that you're going to say yes. Oh, that brought up a recent memory. Not mine. But anyways, we are not put on this earth to serve other people's whims. We can go through the whim with them. We can enjoy the whim with them. But it is not our responsibility to make other people's lives easier at the expense of ourselves. And that might seem a little controversial, but it's true. Do we like to do nice things for people? Yes. Do we like to be kind to other people? Of course. That's human nature. That's our basic human nature, is to do good, to want to feel good. But when you are constantly trying to fill your cup with other people's, value of you and other people's, discussion of worth about you, your cup is not going to get very full. You have to fill your own cup. You have to put your value and your worth and your validation in your own hands. Do not put your value in somebody else's hands. If you are unable to do something, if you are physically unable to do something, don't say yes. Yes, you might be preoccupied with what somebody else might think. You might worry that you're going to make them mad. You might worry that you're going to upset them or upend them. And sometimes the need might be dire on their end. But you have to assess where you are in your own life. Is this something I am capable of doing? Is this something I am able to do? I can't tell you. I swear I'm in like this. I drew a card last week from the self-healing deck, and it was called Cycles. And it says this cycle is basically telling you that you are in a period of rest. And I thought, a period of rest? That's all I've been doing is resting, And then I thought about it, and I started going back over the last 20 years and how I used to do so much for so many people that, I was burning the candle at both ends. And a lot of it was because, you try to avoid your own healing, right? You try to do this, that, or the other. People pleasing to me blurs a line between being a kind person and a people pleaser. There can be sometimes, the people pleaser will blur that line. They'll think, well, I have to do this because, this is the kind of person I am. I'm super nice, but I don't want them to get mad. And I don't want them to be upset with me. And I don't want them to look at me the wrong way. And that's where you've gone from being the kind person to a people pleaser, in my opinion. Okay, this is all my perspective. This is just my perspective. The third one, you feel guilty when you do tell people no. The next one, you fear that turning people down will make them think you are mean or selfish. If you need self-care, it's not mean or selfish. Now, if you're a person who constantly asks and asks and asks for help, but turns somebody down because you just don't feel like doing it and it's too much of a bother for you, that's not people pleasing. That's just being a taker. And that's a whole different subject for a whole different day. But chances are, if you're watching this and you are still here, you are the kind of person that feels like someone's going to think you're being mean or selfish if you turn them down. And, you're not. We're not going to, we can't save the world by ourselves. All right. In my personal opinion, if it's something big, always have a backup plan. Have a few backup plans. Backup plans do not hurt. All right. So, you know what? That should be my tagline. I swear I say that a lot. All right. But are you listening? All right. But anyway, you fear that turning people down will make them think you're mean or selfish. Again, if this is about self-care or, some self-love, or maybe you're setting boundaries. Okay. Maybe you're setting boundaries with people that constantly expect the world from you. And it's always take on their end, but never any real give. I know that we all do this. I talked about this last week, and the majority of the people I know are like this. We do not do things to get things back. It's not a tit for tat situation when we're being kind. And I'm sorry, I know the pencil might be distracting, but it's helping me. So, again, the majority of the world is not a tit for tat situation. We're not doing something to get something back. We're doing it because out of the kindness of our heart. But the thing is, there are going to be people who are going to take advantage of that. There are going to be people who, and then they're going to make you feel bad if, you can't do something. I remember I had a friend once ask me if, hey, do you mind blah, 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 so I can get the carpool lane and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, well, I can't because I have an appointment that day. And they're all, oh, well, now I don't know what I'm going to do. But they figured it out. Believe it or not, they figured it out. And it's because I didn't say, well, you know what, let me cancel it. And this is a person I have. This was a good friend of mine that I had to set boundaries with. And I've talked about this person before, and it's not meant to be mean. It's a pattern that I have done where I've had to set my boundaries with this person because, and when I've needed something, it's like, no. And I have canceled appointments to be there for people. I have canceled things that I was doing to be there for people. Now, there's a difference when you cancel something, because, an opportunity came up that, required that specific time. Like, for instance, on Valentine's Day, my dad wanted to meet, we usually meet halfway for breakfast. He wanted to meet older sibling and I for breakfast, and we had a movie planned, but the times would have kind of there was no overlap, or there was an overlap. So it was like, you know what? That's okay. I'll just cancel the movie and we'll go. And he's like, no, don't. I said, well, he's all, do you have anything planned? And I'm like, yeah, well, the movie's like, oh, well, never mind. It's like, no. What did you have planned? That's different, because the movie's still going to be there. But if you have a standing appointment for something, especially if you've been waiting a while for that appointment, just tell them no. Okay, they're going to have to accept the fact that you said no. And if they don't like it, you need to really and they give you a hard time about it, and they still mad about it about a week later, you really need to reevaluate this relationship and this friendship. Okay, because this is somebody who does not see your value. They just see what you can do for them. Or maybe they want to see your value, but they're so mired in all of this, is that the right word? But they're so, whatever, with, you know, they're overwhelmed with their own stuff that they don't even think about it, okay? So I feel like this is getting more controversial as I go, right? You agree to things you don't like to do or do things you don't want to do. Again, if it's a group situation and everybody takes a vote on it, that's something completely different. Unless, of course, you're constantly making contributions on things to do and you're constantly being shot down by the one person who thinks they're in charge of this group. This has happened to me in the past. So that, when it comes to that, you really might want to rethink that whole situation and stand up for yourself and say, look, you know what, everybody comes up with ideas, but we always have to vote on what you want. You know, sometimes it takes one voice to stand up to the one big voice for other people to chime in. So, you know, and that's another boundary that you would need to set. But if you agree to do things you don't like to do or do things you don't want to do, that can start causing a lot of animosity down the way. And that can blow up in your face. And I've had people pleasing like that, moments like that blow up in my face. Because I would get upset and it's just like, you know what, I didn't want to do this today, or I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to do this. And there were a lot of times when I would do things with Sissy Joe that I just didn't want to do. But I thought, well, I get to hang out with her, so, you know, okay. And later it's like, she'd be like, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I just didn't want to do it. Why didn't you say something? I did. But then you got mad. Or not mad, but you got upset, and it's like, then it was a passive aggressive behavior, and it's nothing against her. It was just, you know, there were only so many moments in a day that she had, because she was a very busy person. And I figured, you know what, if I'm going to say yes, I have to say yes on my own terms. So that was something I had to work through, but that was well before I became a recovering people pleaser. So, and that's just an example, because I think we've all done it. I've done things where it's like, hey, you want to do this today? And it's like, oh, why not? And then you beg and you beg and you beg, and you don't think about what the other person wants. So I am sure I've done that. Let's see. You struggle with feelings of low self-esteem. I do. I do struggle with my self-esteem. I'm working on it. But, yeah. Again, that's putting your value in other people's hands. So again, right here, having low self-worth and drawing self-esteem from others. All right. You want people to like you, and you feel that doing things for them will earn their approval. Do I need to read it again? Having low self-esteem and drawing self-esteem from others, or low self-worth and drawing self-esteem from others. Because you want people to like you, and you feel that doing things for them will earn their approval. I had a post last week. Do not hustle for your worthiness. You should not have to hustle for your worthiness. And by that I mean, you know, if you're in a job and you want to show them what you're made of, you have to know your self-worth already. You have to know how worthy you are of this project before you seek out the approval and worthiness of other people. It's one thing to hustle on a project. It's another to hustle to get people to like you. You shouldn't have to do that. If you are a good person, if you are coming from a good place, if you are coming from a kind place, the right people will gravitate to you. I had a friend post something last week on social media, and they said, you know, I posted this and the person treated me like crap and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you know what? You deserve better. It's like, you deserve better. Unfollow that person, because if that's all you're getting from them and you're getting absolutely no support from them, you don't need that. You absolutely do not need that. You deserve people in your life that are going to make you feel good about yourself. You deserve people in your life that are going to lift you. They're going to help you. They're going to see you. They're going to say, look, you know what? If this is something you don't want to do, let's come up with a compromise. Let's come up with something that we can do, you know, as a group. And, you know, I'll go do this with other people. Or, you know, maybe we can try it out, and if you don't like it, because who knows, maybe it's something that you want to do and you've never done it before, and it's just like, okay, and you both might end up leaving going, well, that was, at least we experienced it, right? That was ... at least we experienced it moment. But you don't want to do things to earn people's approval. You know, if you have to, I don't know, if your work ethic, or if your strong and powerful work ethic is not enough for somebody, that's their issue. That's not yours. But when it comes to friendships, and it comes to relationships, and it comes to family, any type of relationship across the board, you should not have to hustle for your worthiness. It should not take an act of God for somebody to see your worthiness, especially when, you know, I mean, whoever's watching this, you're an amazing person. Why are you trying so hard to earn the approval of somebody who is just overlooking you at every turn? You know, this is why a lot of people quit their jobs and find new ones. This is why a lot of people start to fall apart in jobs when they don't feel like they're respected or feel worthy anymore. I know. So if you're spotting someone like that, think about it, okay? You're always telling people you're sorry. That face is because, yeah. You know who you are. You're always telling people you're sorry. That is a huge people-pleasing thing. Huge. I say this with love because, and I say it with love because it's going to come out so wrong. But you cannot fix a situation with sorry. Think of a Band-Aid with the word sorry on it. Sorry is a changed behavior. Now, granted, yes, we'll say sorry over and over again, but you have to show some kind of progress in that behavior. Otherwise, the sorry doesn't mean anything. And I don't want that to sound mean, but when you hear it over and over and over and over and over again, and it's something that constantly, it's just like a cycle. It's a pattern. It's not a Band-Aid. It's not something that yes, I'm sure when it comes out of somebody's mouth, they absolutely mean it. Because that's their cycle of people pleasing. I'm sorry. Or sorry. Or sorry. Or, well, you know, I'm sorry. But then it happens again and again and again. I have done this. I have done this. I've been there. I have been this ultimate, you know, gold medaling people pleaser. And it's a hard habit to break because, you know, but the more I learn self-love, the more I become more in tune with my self-worth and my self-respect, I really start to see how much of a people pleaser I am. There is not one thing on this list that I have not done. Seriously, there's not one thing on this list that I read this morning that I have not done. You take the blame even when something isn't your fault. Yeah. When you say sorry for something or whatever, and you're not empathizing, but you're literally taking responsibility for it, that's not empathizing, guys. That is literally saying, well, I don't want there to be a fight, so blah, blah, blah. Or I don't want there to be any tension, so I'll just take the blame for it. Do not take the blame for somebody else's stupidity. Period. Do not. Right there. You take the blame when something isn't your fault. I have had moments where I was a hurt person hurting people. And, you know, older sibling has been the one constant who really taught me how to ground myself, who taught me how to heal, who showed me that there was a better path and that I didn't have to be in this cycle of, you know, sunny, stormy days, you know, where, yay, sunny, 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 boom, sunny, 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 boom. And it wasn't like, you know, where it's just like a storm, right? It was literally like this tornado formed out of nowhere and bam, anybody in my path would suffer. And there were times when it would come to a head. And unfortunately, and this is not a behavior I was ever proud of, and I'm still not proud of it, and I'm still working through, you know, trying to make up for it. Older sibling would be the only one in the path. And she'd be like, well, I'm really sorry I did that. And it's like, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. This is me. You know, this is me. This is all me. And it's taken me a while to learn that, because the one person that literally put themselves in the path of my tornado to help me not be that person anymore was the same person I kept running over and over and over again. It's a miracle she still talks to me, okay, because I was never physically violent, well, except the muffin incident, and the muffin incident is like a whole nother story. But yes, a chocolate chip muffin, but and no, it didn't involve anything horrid, just kind of funny bad. I mean, it's a funny story now, but it wasn't a funny story then, because it's like, I could not believe that happened. But anyways, she actually took the blame for that. She actually took the blame for it. I'm like, I mean, this happened like almost 20 years ago. And it's like, this was not your fault. This was not even close to being your fault. It was me. But because I know she would say it to her, maybe. I know this is terrible, but older sibling always says she's an open book. And so she always lets me share her story. Older sibling is definitely a people pleaser. And I mentioned that in the beginning, where sometimes trying to find something to watch on TV is like trying to pull teeth between the two of us. Like, I don't care. I don't just put anything on. And then you get to the point where you're like, just put whatever you want on. And then you feel bad because you feel like you're about to lose your shit. And just because, neither one of you can commit to a TV show. And so, yeah, that's an eye roll and a half. But don't take the blame for something that isn't your fault. Like I said, these are things that I'm still, even though she tells me it's okay, there's still things that I'm terribly ashamed of. Behaviors that I once had. And I know I'm not that person anymore. But it sticks with you. It sticks in there until it's healed. Let's see, the next one. You never have any free time because you were always doing things for other people. How about that thing you wanted to crochet, or that story you wanted to write, or that painting you wanted to draw, or that book you wanted to read, or that, quiet moment at the coffee shop you wanted to have with yourself with that pretty coffee and the cup and the saucer? When was the last time you did that? If it's been a while, you need to slow down and take some time for self-care. All right? You neglect your own needs in order to do things for others. That feels like it goes with the one right before. Let's put this one together. You never have any free time because you are always doing things for other people, and you neglect your own needs in order to do things for other people. Self-care. This really should have been a Wednesday topic, right? Because Wednesday is self-care. But I wanted to start it off on Monday because I want to challenge people to go through this week and write down in a journal, on a piece of paper, in your phone, on a journal app, whatever. Write down, and I don't mean just make mental notes, because I want you to look back over all this stuff. And yeah, it's like homework. And look at all the times that you did something for somebody that you didn't want to do. But you did it because you were afraid, you were going to, be in trouble, or you didn't want to make them mad, or you didn't want to hurt their feelings, or you were afraid they were going to be, where you weren't concerned about your feelings, you were concerned about how they were going to see you. So I guess in a way, your feelings, I don't know. Like I said, the squirrels are hard at work today. And for anyone that's watched the perspective in the past, like, even just last year, and the end of last year, you'll know that my thoughts are usually a little bit more put together and a little less all over the place. It's like a puzzle. Let's take a puzzle, and it's like my brain, it's like dumping out a bunch of puzzle pieces, and hey, let's put it all together and see what happens. But yeah, you neglect your own needs in order to do things for others. Don't do that. Don't do that. Someone's always going to need something. And when we have lots of friends, lots of someones are always going to need something. If you are unable to do it, if you are not capable of doing it at that moment, it is okay to say no. Just say no. All right? You pretend to agree with people even though you feel differently. Oh my God, that used to be so me. You're sitting at a table full of people and you're just kind of nodding politely. Like, There's a difference between not saying anything because you just really have nothing to add, or there's another where, let's just agree to disagree because this ain't working. But there's another to sit there and say, like, well, let's go back to the movie thing, right? With like the Blair Witch Project. So every time I tell someone I hated that movie and I literally wanted to walk out, but I didn't because I thought it would get better. In fact, I was with my last boyfriend at the time when that movie came out. I know, I'm dating myself here. But when we left, I was like, there was like only 4 of us left. I mean, this theater started with maybe, because we went to see it after it was really kind of not hyped anymore and blah, 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 and everyone had seen it already. There was probably only about 20 people in our theater. When we left, there were 5 left. Us and 3 other people. And I remember walking out and looking at my boyfriend going, I really thought it was going to get better. And he looked at me and I thought, uh-oh. Because he's the one that wanted to see it. I really didn't want to see it. And I mean, I like horror movies, but I just wasn't, just didn't look that interesting to me. And he's like, oh, I thought I was the only one. And then this guy walking out behind us thought, I hated it too. And here I was thinking, uh-oh, they're going to come down on me like, how could you not love this? And, because everyone's like, Shelly, how come you haven't seen it yet, Shelly? And, I'm going way back to the way back days. I mean, we're talking the turn of what, the century? I don't even remember when the Blair Witch Project came out. I think the internet might have still been sort of new and people learning how to market through the internet. And so I guess they had this whole website. They're all like, well, if you didn't look at the website and blah, blah, blah. I did look at the website. For some people it was great. For me, not so much. I mean, I grew up with a lot of, I read a lot of supernatural books growing up. I grew up reading a lot of, I guess supernatural books. I mean, I was like a total loner my first, half of my freshman year. I spent the entire first semester in the library reading everything I could on ghosts and witches and werewolves and, anything supernatural, anything remotely spooky, including like, stuff that's, based in reality. And I know I don't want to tread on anyone else's beliefs, but I mean, I do believe in ghosts. But I've had my own experiences, so I can't explain them, so I know they're real for me. I'm not here to push my beliefs on anyone else. But in general, when it comes to religion, when it comes to politics, when it comes to the bigger subjects, there have been times when I would sit there and pretend to agree with people because I just didn't want to make them mad. I just didn't want to sit there in a debate. And, I have learned since then, I will agree to disagree with you. Because a lot of times people that's it. I mean, no matter where you sit religiously or politically, everything coming out of your mouth is your opinion. Even if there are facts to put it out there. And I know that doesn't sound right? Because it's your opinion. But it's your opinion because, you're sitting here and you're sharing it. And yeah, you can sit there and go, well, it's a fact, look it up. And that might start to piss them off. So you kind of want to back up. I know that comment actually made no sense. That comment made no sense. So there are going to be times when we do have facts to back things up. But, when it comes to politics and religion, yeah, there's a lot of facts laying right out there in people's faces. But when people support something so heavily and so heartily, they're not going to look at that, no matter how much it's staring them in the face, no matter how global and, newsworthy it might be. And a lot of times it's just because, they don't want to. But that doesn't mean you have to give in to their thinking. That doesn't mean you have to sit there and say, oh, well, okay. No, you don't. You get to decide how you feel about something. Don't fight about it. Your opinion is your opinion. Okay. Your opinion is solely yours. We do not have any right to really force our opinion on other people. I see this on Twitter all the time. People, someone will post something from a completely, neutral point. Just a neutral standpoint. I saw somebody post something from a neutral standpoint about 2 weeks ago, and everybody came down on them and said, you're anti this, you're anti that, you're an asshole, you're a jerk, how could I have respected you? It's like, are you kidding me? Did you even read the article? No, because that's how we are. That's how we are as humans. And then there's somebody out there going, oh, well, I'm going to distance myself from this because I don't want people to hate me. That's people pleasing. That is people pleasing 101. If you are going to put something into the world, you need to stand behind it. Yes, I have deleted things in the past. And I have deleted things in the past because I did not want to argue with it. There's a certain brand of people out there that just look for something to be mad at. There are certain brand of people, and it doesn't matter. You can sit there and go, oh, those are people over here. No, that's people across the board. Period. People across the board, period. People whose only opinion in this world that matters is their own. Nobody else's. And eventually they come around, maybe they have an awakening, maybe they have a lightning moment, maybe something causes them to become upended and they start rethinking everything. But until somebody learns how to see somebody else's opinion, you're never going to get something across. And, you don't have to sit there and kowtow to them. You can just say, look, I agree to disagree because that's not how I feel. But hey, you know what? That's okay. That's okay. You know what? You got your feelings about it. I got my feelings about it. And, this discussion's getting a little loud. So maybe we should just stop. And a lot of times I think that's what it is too, is that I have noticed something that's not on this list is when people pleasers don't want to say anything because they're afraid it's going to, cause fight. So they will agree. Well, I guess it's kind of in that. They will agree with people even though they feel differently because they don't want to sit there and have that fight. They don't want to, even if they're armed with like 5,000 facts of, the actual thing and they can counterpoint every single thing somebody else is saying, they're just going to sit there and not say anything because, one, it's probably wise because you don't want to cause that fight if you know the person. But if it's somebody who, you've had intelligent conversations with, who you're just sitting there going like, where did you read that? That's not even close. And you just want to tell them something. You just want to share the truth about something. And it's just kind of, and you have the facts, this. Maybe you read the article and the person didn't read the article, but they're spewing stuff off by the title. And then you'll sit there and go, but did you read the article? And they'll say, yeah, but then they say stuff that wasn't even in there. And you're like, but they're just going to, a lot of times people are just going to double down because nobody wants to be wrong. To me, that's the opposite of people pleasing. They don't want to be wrong. I think that's a whole different mental health issue right there. And not a dinged up mental health issue, it's a self-esteem issue. They don't want to be wrong. They don't want to look bad. And I think that's where a lot of my thing came from. I used to be like that. I always had to be right. And if I knew something, I always had to say it like, oh yeah, well, I know this. And I did that because I don't know why I did it. I had low self-esteem and, I was finally in a position where I knew things but there's a way to say things more kindly. The trauma brain is nuts. And I don't mean that in a mean way, like, nuts. I mean, it's insane. Well, there's really no adjective I can pick. That's not going to make it sound derogatory. Trauma brain is horrible because it doesn't bring out the best of us sometimes. It's going to bring out either the people pleaser in us or the really traumatic, hardened side of us, or both, depending on the day. And like I said, this is just my perspective. These are just my opinions. But when we start to people please too much, for me, for other people, I think it wears them down even more to the point where they don't know how to stop being a people pleaser. For me, there were times it would just build into that tornado where it's like, I'm so tired of doing what everybody else wants to do. Why don't we ever do what I want to do? How come I'm always, at the whim of everybody else? Why don't I ever get to make decisions on, where we go or what we do? Or why is it whenever I make a suggestion that we do something, we end up doing what the other person who's, new to this conversation decides to do and I get pushed to the side? That annoys me. And that still happens to me in some situations. And it's like, but you know what? I know I have to pick my battles. And I just sit there and go, well, maybe I'll enjoy this. Maybe it'll be okay. And a lot of times I end up enjoying myself. And I think for me, that's the lesson in that for me, is that a lot of times I fight against something and then end up enjoying it. So I try to go with the flow more often now. But sometimes I end up going with other people's flows and I deal with it later. I'll journal it out. I try not to let it fester anymore because sometimes we don't have a choice. But when you do, say something. I've never really communicated this out loud with some of the people I hang out with, and I probably should, but I don't, because sometimes I just enjoy being in company of my family and friends, the people that I enjoy being around. And sometimes for me, that's the good part about it. And so I just do try to go with the flow, and I don't try to make suggestions anymore. And I have said in the past, this is part of my growth. Well, what do you want to do? And I actually said, does it matter? Because every time I make a suggestion, we don't do it anyway. So why are you asking me? And they just kind of look at me like, well, you don't have to be so snotty about it. And it's like, and that's because I've held it in before. And I'll just sit there and say, well, I'm not trying to be. And it's like, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be kind of snooty about it or, bitchy about it. But that's how I feel. Like, I don't ever get to make the decision. So I just kind of go with the flow. But if you're going to choose to go with the flow, you have to be okay with it. All right. I wasn't expecting this show to get as long, so I'm going to continue this part 2 tomorrow. And part 2 tomorrow, we're going to talk about, we'll go over the causes of people pleasing, and then we'll go into the effects of people pleasing, and then tips to stop people pleasing. So you know what? This may go through to Wednesday. I'll do more homework on this. I'll try to get my brain a little more on board with all of this. I am sorry. Hopefully I get leveled out soon. Okay? Because my mind is literally like ADD right now. And I'm not making fun of ADD. Literally, I am not. It's literally, I know people who have it. I have friends who have kids who have it. And I am telling you, that is where my brain is. But I just call them squirrels in my attic or squirrels in the tree. Not because I'm ashamed of it. I've never been tested for it. And it might explain a lot of my childhood. I don't know. But I never have been tested for it. I just figured, if I went in and asked my doctor, they would think I'm nuts. And it's like, you know what? Why? Because it's a trend? It's like, no, because literally I will have one thought and skip to like 4 more, the 4th thought I have in my book, and then circle back. And it's just like, or, something over here will take my attention off of something, or something over there will just grab my attention, just kind of like, what? So, it's not always easy. But I'm doing my best. So we're going to, tomorrow will be part 2. And then, so you know what? I've made the decision now that tomorrow we'll talk about the causes of people pleasing and the cause and effects of people pleasing. And then on Wednesday, Self-Care Wednesday, we'll do the tips to stop people pleasing. All right. I'm going to put these in the notes. So for those of you that want to follow through, follow it, you can. Also, I'm going to put it in the notes. If you are on Facebook, you can find this under the Aloha perspective. And I know for those of you watching now, you're like, but we're already here. No, I also share this to YouTube. Okay. And I share it to Twitter through my YouTube account. You're welcome to come on live and just, the comments, I leave the comments open so people can chit chat. I'll be honest with you right now, it's been a struggle because I know some people want to join the actual chat by, being on with the voices. And I'll be honest with you, my brain is just kind of, it's trying to stay one track right now, but I can follow along in the comments if there is something you want to add or something you want to, maybe you disagree with something I'm saying, or maybe you have a question, feel free to come on. I go on every morning at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. It is live again under the Aloha perspective on Facebook. All right. And, I don't know if there's any others. I don't think there is. I checked before I named my show over a year, almost 2 years now, maybe a year and a half. maybe 2 years. I did check to see if it was, and I didn't see that anybody had it. So hopefully you can find me. It'll be like these glasses with like a flower on it. So will be the picture. But yeah, so you can hear it in all the uhs. That's got to be driving older sibling nuts. She was an entertainment manager once and kind of a PR person. So it's like the uhs and the ers, and it's just like, she sits there and goes, stop it. Just think of the word. But yeah, think about these things that we talked about. I'm going to read them really quick one last time so you can kind of keep them in your mind. All right. So, signs you might be a people pleaser. You have a difficult time saying no. You're preoccupied with what other people might think. You feel guilty when you do tell people no. You fear that turning people down will make them think you are mean or selfish. You agree to things you don't like or do things you don't want to do. You struggle with feelings of low self-esteem. You want people to like you and feel that doing things for them will earn their approval. You're always telling people you're sorry. You take the blame even when something isn't your fault. You never have any free time because you are always doing things for other people. You neglect your own needs in order to do things for others. And you pretend to agree with people even though you feel differently. Now, if you're in a situation, now I just want to say, some of these things you may be, and they may be situational. Okay, so that very last one where you pretend to agree with people though you feel differently, you just may be sitting there nodding your head or not saying anything at all because you just know which battles to pick. Okay, so that doesn't mean you're necessarily a people pleaser. These things are talking about people who do it consistently. Now, I will say this about older sibling. This is the interesting thing about her. Her and I are both people pleasers. I'm a recovering people pleaser. She is currently in the process of becoming a recovering people pleaser. We're trying to work through this together as a team because teamwork makes the dream work, right? But she is not one. I love watching her go sometimes because, believe it or not, that last one is not her. She will not pretend to agree with people if she doesn't agree with them. She won't be a dick about it. No, she won't be mean about it. But boy, she loves a good debate. And sometimes it is so fun to watch her. It's just like, you know what? I know this sounds terrible, but in the days when I used to, post things and there were repercussions of people just being a jerk or being mean, the minute she found out about it, she would find it and she would defend my honor. I know, I had to stop telling her about stuff, but there have been times when I've just kind of said, I can't believe someone said this about me because I knew what she would do. Isn't that terrible? That is so terrible. I know, that was a while ago too, but I try not to do that anymore. I try not to engage because it's not worth it. It's not worth it in most cases, and there are always going to be trolls out there, and the trolls are always going to be waiting to just pounce. So just be careful with that, all right? Try not to take the pouncing personally. Like I said, there are angry people out there who don't know how to be angry in therapy, so they use social media as their therapy to just lash out at everything and anything. And you just have to be careful because if you're one of the people that's being lashed out at, that could hurt you. And that could ruin your self-esteem. And you don't want that to happen. So just try to take that with a grain of salt. And like I said, for me, I just try to post. I mean, yeah, I might comment on things. And I forget that sometimes when I comment on things, it ends up in the feeds of other people. But for the most part, I just try to be chill. Because you just got to put that love into the world. Got to put that positivity and that light in the world. We got to combat all the anger with love. And I know that sounds dumb, and people are probably going to sit there and go, that is the dumbest thing I ever heard. I've had people say that's the dumbest thing they have ever heard. And I don't back down anymore. I just say it's only dumb because, you don't know how to do it. Which probably isn't helpful either. But hey, I have my spicy side. All right. I have my spicy side. Setting boundaries is still new for me. So, it's a work in progress. But yeah, I'm not going to say I don't have a sassy side. I do. And, if somebody says something and, and it's like a proven fact, I'll be like, oh, and I will I won't backpedal, but I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm wrong. And, you know, learning how to say I'm wrong has been the hardest thing in the world, but it's been the biggest gift in the whole world too. Because I'm not always right. Surprise! I'm not always right. Oh, older sibling said, that's a flower child response. She has ordained me a flower child. And, or anointed me. She's anointed me with the peace sign, a flower child. And you know what? I wear that proudly. I'm not a hippie because I'm not political. I try not to be political. I'm quiet, and I try to be quiet in politics as much as I can be, because I just don't want to fight with people, and I'm not good at, you know, walking away from nasty comments. So, you know, I have to pick my battles. So anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please, please, please take care of yourselves. Again, tomorrow will be cause and effects of people pleasing, and we're going to go over those tomorrow. Okay, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. And thank you, older sibling, for everything you do for me. Have a great day.